shoehorning in on her fucking her career, whatever choice. But the only way you have a career in that is if you don't fucking tell everybody about it. That's how you fucking are a bad criminal, is if you fucking tell a bunch of people that you're doing the crime. Like, it's very smart about it. It's not good to have drugs around you all the time. But you really only Matthew is the only person that I know that can constantly have unlimited drugs. What? You
should taste this chocolate.
No, thank you.
I'm telling
I
you.
will when I'm not so stressed.
Okay. Fine. You're always eating chocolate. And when I offer you something, you don't want it.
Go ahead. You can lash out. You're funny. Oof. Oh, if the bug was fucking, or maybe I touched something down at the water. Look, I started scratching. I'll start cooking your food in a second. Give me a second.
I should sit down, right?
Well, no, because you're not going to get back up. Sit in your bath.
That's why I was standing.
Go sit in your bath.
Not quite ready.
Fucking Flav. I put my fucking what I did so far for my garden.
I saw Sia singing out.
Shut up!
Yeah,
really?
I was in the train. She was on the thing.
Did she talk to you?
No, she didn't see me. I was sitting in the train. I was going the other way where she was going. She was on the
I was gonna send her a message and be like, I'm sorry that we didn't end on like super great terms, but I still really appreciate you taking us in when.
No, there's nothing like that. It didn't end. We're still friends.
No, but there was a bit of like an awkward confusion,
Yeah.
like and a miss
Yeah.
and a loss of
So what we do with Sia is we take a few year step back, and at some point we'll see each other again, and we're like, hey, I'm
yeah, but
doing?
like
I'm doing well.
it's not a lot of people who would have taken us in. Like my family,
Took me in a few times.
exactly. So like I don't want her to stop doing
It's
that
like-
ever.
I instead of telling her I'm sorry or showing her whatever, I wait time, and then I show her at the end, look, you're the one that took me in, and I changed my life around. It worked. So sorry if it was a little hard.
Yeah, but I
sorry
wanted to
if it
tell her
was-
that so she actually knows that like
It helped.
that we actually like
We fucking put it together. That's it.
because we
That's
do
so sweet.
appreciate it, and like I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a lot of people that come and go in her house that she takes in. I know she takes a lot of fucking
But
people in.
Plasma Stellars has some stuff.
I don't think they talk at all.
Well,
I don't think they have a real. I think they.
that's why I used to live right beside her.
That's why she has all her gay best friends and whatever,
Who was her neighbor?
and she goes and sees her friends all the time because she talks to them about everything. Flav's not a very talky guy. Because Flav, he's not good at
No.
talking. Because he's fucking kind of like awkward and weird, but I don't mind. It's okay.
My granny is not working. I put it all the way to the hot water, and I'm wondering why water's not shutting off. Like, oh, it's the wrong way.
I hate that fucking bath. I hate the shower head and I hate the fucking handle. I always said that if I ever have a house, I'm going to invest in all my taps because the new taps, it's hard to gauge where when it's just the one that you have to lift up and you're trying to do that. Same with sinks. Bathroom sinks are too small. How are you supposed to wash your face in a bathroom sink? There are no bathroom sinks that are fucking able to wash your face in without getting water everywhere.
There's new all counter sink that are pretty fucking crazy. Oh, back on the bed.
Are you sure you don't want me to pull the fucking thing out so it's a bed?
You sure?
Okay, if you change your mind, let me know. I'll make the bed comfy for you.
Yeah. Cause yeah, last night was for last night. It was, too short of a notice.
No, I came down and he was like this, and he had a pillow as a blanket. I was like, Justin, you want me to fix the bed? I can make it like more comfy. He's like, no, this will do. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, are you woke?
I want to be miserable.
No, you called me woke. And I was like, fuck you. Try to be nice.
What a dick.
Yeah, dude.
Whatever. If you want to be uncomfortable, or if that's comfortable for you, whatever. You do you. If you change your mind, I'll fucking fix it.
How about the bang? He falls. Are you saying this couch is too small for me?
Let's see you.
I don't know. My dog look at me while you still high. How you doing?
I guess wake me up for pizza or not pizzas.
Yeah,
Wake me
okay.
up for food, please.
You're okay.
Leslie Ann wakes me up first. And then I'm gonna go drink with her by the water.
You'll work it out, Justin. If she's talking to you and she hasn't just fucking fallen, that's what I would have done. If I really didn't want to fucking, when I'm fucking done with a relationship, I'm out. And I don't want to I'll get people to fucking come pick up my stuff. I don't even fucking. I literally have abandoned my stuff many times because I'm like, I would rather never fucking see you again and lose all my shit than have to fucking deal with you.
Shut up. And I got one advice for you. As much as sometimes it's hard, don't yell. If you raise your voice, just stop and tell her, give me a second, I'm trying not to raise my voice.
Take a lap.
That is going to make
A huge difference. A
long way.
huge difference. If you feel like you can't and your guys are going in circles again and again and going back to the same, well, you did this, tit for tat. It's going to go nowhere. Take a lap. Just go off and do a lap and then come at me back up. Because, like, once you get in that fucking loop, especially with people coming off drugs, sometimes you can't rationalize a reason with, like, you were like that at one point.
Yep.
In front of Mike's, I couldn't reason with you. There's no fucking talking to you.
No.
I just have to let you burn out, though.
But I dealt with my shit.
Yeah, but you were going to lose me.
Yeah.
I was going to keep I wasn't going to keep putting up with that.
I know, baby.
I know what you can be. I know what you are. Because you loved me when I was fucking the worst human on the planet.
You're not.
I had literally nothing to offer other than a heart.
Your heart and your smile. Make me who now?
Yes, sir. Go take your bath.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I'll come wash your hair for you. I'll put the jet thing on your back.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Want to take the joint? Take it in the bathroom with you. I'm going to drag the dog in.
Alright, so we come to the conclusion that joints are no longer joints in this house, they're now stupid sticks.
Stupid
You want some of that stupid stick?
No, get up.
I'm good. He's gonna go in there. He's gonna be
No, because I want him to clear out his sinuses so he's not huffing and puffing all night.
dragging him on this note and all the way to the toilet.
Well, no, it's
He's looking at
because
her.
we've been
What are you doing?
doing steam baths where he inhales the steam like when I was a little kid to try to unclog his fucking nose from getting clogged up with blood. But if it goes into his lungs, we'll get pneumonia, we'll fucking die.
Hey. There's nothing on it.
Here we go. In the bathroom with Daddy where you love it. Taking my dog.
You dragged him there.
I'll take your pain in the ass dog.
Yeah, okay. It's my dog, but it's for you.
Yeah, she is for me. I love him so much.
Good.
My sweet boy. He's a pain in the ass though. No, I don't want your fucking toy. Get out! Yes,
I hate you, don't leave me.
That's a book actually. My mom has it. It's about bipolar.
I hate you, don't leave me. Turn on that light a little bit.
Yeah, get an ambiance.
Yeah, a little ambiance for Justin taking that.
Some jazz, some like smooth jazz.
No. Put some heavy death metal, but very, very, very low volume.
That guy that I listen to that does the guy that fucking mixes two songs.
What was that?
The guy that does death metal and he fucking does like covers of like super pop music songs
Yeah.
and he does a death metal.
Yeah.
Super great. Go.
Oh, the other day again, I'm playing video games and I hear crows, ravens. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's not outside. I go in the room, there's a video of crows playing, and I look at the time, 5 hours. It was gonna be crows for 5 hours on the screen if I did. Like, what the fuck are you doing to me?
It was for my dog.
It's for your dog. It's 5 hour dog. It's making me crazy. control in the house?
Yeah, but that would probably make my dog crazy, so I'd rather you turn it off if it's making me crazy. I thought you would like it. So that every time he hears a noise, he doesn't start barking. Background noise. Go in your bath.
I'm still smoking.
Take it with you, you fucking fool.
Makes things easier before put it out. Put it out.
You see, you're starting to talk nonsense.
I'm like my coffee machine cooking.
Okay, goodbye.
Well, quickly.
Yes, sir, it is.
Mr. Call is the governor from Tiger. Marsh Monk. Fuck toy slut. Marsh Monk.
Okay, but first it's ma, and it's gran.
Yeah, whatever.
Mange ma gran.
Marsh Monk, whatever.
Yeah, ma gran.
First off, we're gonna say it properly.
Yeah, you got fucking jerks at me.
Everybody understands what I'm saying, anyways. Joker, so
What?
everybody understands what I'm saying, anyways.
Oh yeah, but it doesn't matter. If you're gonna fucking tell me to fuck off, tell me.
Here's the 2-minute story of how I built a $10 million a year online business and how my mistakes and successes can.
With your comments about this, because we've been tracking this for the past couple of years here on Redacted.
Well, the World Health Organization finalized and adopted the pandemic treaty. This is something we've been worried about, that we've been warning about. Joe Biden did intend to sign it. President Trump said no, the United States is withdrawing from the WHO. So this is not something that should supersede American sovereignty, but there is still a way for the WHO to reach its tenterhooks inside U.S. borders and in Argentina as well. And those of you watching in Europe, well, this is real for you. It is a severely diluted version of what they wanted. We had warned you that they wanted to usurp sovereignty. They wanted to have total surveillance of populations. One of the things I was really worried about was the ability to define what they called infodemics, as in you are believing information they don't want you to believe, and they could call that a pandemic because of your belief system. They wanted to the ability to censor even what they said was true information. Well, none of that exists as the treaty is now. They do remove the part about, mandatory sovereignty. It does not require countries to waive their intellectual rights. It was Big Pharma that fought back against that, not the people. They didn't care at all about that. So that is good, right? It's less, but there are still some concerning elements of it. Also, while we're focused on that, the deadline to reject the 2024 IHR amendments is fast approaching. That's July 19th of this year. So soon. Well, James Roguski has been reporting on this at length since the pandemic. He's the author of Screw the Who. Love it. Screw the WHO, and he's going to tell us about it today. Thank you, James, for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I look forward to it. There's a lot of information, so where would you like to focus?
Okay. Well, I read through the draft or the treaty as it was ratified today, and it looks like some of the things I was most manic about, such as surveillance and the infodemic bit of it and the ability to control food systems, is gone. But there are some sort of sneaky ways in which it's still there. So do you know what I'm talking about? Can you explain that? Would you like to take any one of those?
Well, the information and the misinformation that has been spread around the world for the last 3 years that I've been reporting on this, I really advise everybody, just erase the blackboard of your mind, because this is not what everyone has thought it is. It's essentially a business deal to build big pharma around the world.
Yeah,
if all anybody did was pick up the latest version of the pandemic agreement and look at the headings on what is in this agreement, It talks about geographical
making
distribution
influenza
of the means
sexy
of
again.
production.
Literally,
It talks
Anthony
about
Fauci said it.
logistics and who
Storage also did the AIDS epidemic. Anthony
contracts
Fauci.
for more
How did
products
AZT
for the
work
next
out?
pandemic,
Not
which
great.
may or may not be currently happening.
Basically,
I've dubbed
killed off
this
all the
not
gays.
the new OPEC, like oil producing and exporting countries, but the
We gave them fucking
Organization
anemia
of
with their
Pandemic
fucking
Emergency
shitty fucking
Corporations.
AIDS drugs.
Because what they're setting up is a corrupt mafioso racketeering money laundering business deal. The WHO
Is everything run by the mafia?
Be partners with the pharmaceutical industry. Now, you guys, I know, are aware that the Director General can declare a public health emergency of international concern or a fake. But the real fake is the Pharmaceutical Hospital Emergency Industrial Complex. This is a business deal to have the poorer nations go looking through their biodiversity.
What the fuck are you
treating
doing?
their biodiverse pathogens as a natural sovereign resource. That's the only sovereignty they're looking to protect, is their ability to patent genetic sequences, share them with the WHO through the still not negotiated pathogen access and benefit sharing system, to turn that into products that can be turned into profit. Now, I have good news, and I'm an eternal optimist, and I don't know if you caught this in the document, but I've been reporting on this for a couple of weeks. They adopted an agreement that cannot be signed because they covered over with a wonderful psychological operation the fact that they completely failed to even begin the negotiations on the pathogen access and benefit sharing system. There is no document to be found. In Article 12.2, they reference Article 31.2, which says nobody can sign it until probably at least another year for them to continue negotiating this pathogen access and benefit sharing system, which is kind of like, a way of them seeking out more biological weapons. It's like a arms race looking for more pathogens. So the good news and the call to action is, yes, they agreed or they adopted this piece of paper that talks about their business deal and all the money that they want to go into it, but no nation on the planet can sign it because they haven't finished negotiating it. Now, this is,
why were you upstairs? What were you doing?
News, because now, after them keeping it basically secret for the last
what
year,
did you get into?
we now have access to the document that they've agreed to, and we can start taking pot shots at it, because what they want to do is address what they called 3 years ago, and it's interesting that you had my friend Alex Newman on. They were talking 3 years ago about vaccine apartheid. The argument was, these life-saving, high technologically advanced, products that would save the world were not being shared equitably with the relatively poor nations around the world. So the whole purpose of these negotiations was to ensure that big pharma could be made even bigger. 3 years ago, I reported on the report that started all of this, where the independent panel stated that they wanted to have a framework convention, which means they just lay out the framework and then they meet year after year after year, like the Framework Convention for Climate Change, which is now a $1 trillion boondoggle. Well, they wanted the same thing for pandemic preparedness, prevention, and response, so that they can create a whole new bureaucracy and funnel money through it. They said at the time they wanted $31 billion a year to funnel into this to manufacture more fraudulent PCR tests, more drugs, more jabs, make more devices like ventilators and all that sort of thing, in order to make sure that if there ever was another pandemic, they would be able to jab, 8 billion people at once. The lesson that they learned back in the middle of 2021 was that big pharma was not big enough. So if people go to rejectthetreaty.com and actually read the agreement. Take it from the point of view of if you were in the business of making money from all of the products that, trillions of dollars were directed towards over the last 5 years, this looks like a wonderful business deal. And the first clue to that came from the Indonesian health minister back in October of 2022. He was talking to the B20, not the G20, but the business leaders. And he said, there's billions of dollars going into this. This is a great business investment. Go invest in, tests and drugs. And now we see mRNA manufacturing plants popping up all over the world. This is something that it's not over. I kind of, if you want to liken this to a sporting event, we just got into the fourth quarter and we now have their playbook. Now is the time to not, think we've lost or think it's over. Right now is the time for people to really read up on what they have been keeping secret. And I'm very glad you mentioned the amendments. Even the United States has not said a word about leaving the international health regulations, which is a separate agreement. Yes, Trump started the process of getting out of the WHO and is most likely not going to sign on to the pandemic agreement. But the amendments were adopted on June 1st, 2024, and the Trump administration, as all other nations, have until July 19th to send a letter of rejection to the WHO. Now, I can't name names, but I do have information that at least a couple of countries around the world are going to do exactly that. And this is in addition, hopefully, to the United States and Argentina. Now is the time for people to take action. Read up on what's going on. Get your government to understand that they can still reject the amendments that were adopted last year.
Okay, so the IHR is mentioned in this document, and I think it's Article 18 or 19.3 talks about a coordinating financial mechanism.
Exactly.
Which is basically an accounting firm that wants to look at every country's budget and say, what can we take from this in order to funnel it over to less developed countries so that we can fund the expansion of pharmaceuticals. What they establish here in Article 18 is maintaining or increasing domestic funding. So they want to see what each nation has to spend and then distribute it in an inclusive way. So what that means is that each country's budget goes into and distributes it however they see fit to build out the pharmaceutical industry. That's, now that you put it this way, it's incredibly easy to read.
It actually gets even worse than that. The Article 18 that you're talking about in the pandemic agreement, they're hoping over the next year to, pre-negotiate, some of those details before at the next assembly. They hope, and I'm going to do everything I can to stop it. They hope to adopt the PABS annex, but please understand that Article 44 BIS in the amendments that were adopted is nearly identical. And what they did last year is so nefarious, almost everybody missed it. I've been trying to get people's attention about it. Thank you very much for having me on to have this opportunity. When at the last minute they put forth the documents that were rammed through in 2024, the article that talks about the financing that you just mentioned was not put in bold type, which would mean, oh, hey, look at this. All of the language that's in bold are new amendments. They snuck it in the last document, but they put it in regular type. So most people who took the time to look at the documents go, oh, well, that's just part of the existing IHR. We don't need to pay any attention to that. And they snuck it through. And, I feel that was just constructive fraud. They misrepresented the most important aspect of it. And so that finance.
It was written in such a way, it's like, we decide what you pay. It's like the worst gym in the world. We're going to look at your finances and we decide what you are paying in, and we will distribute it as we see fit. and we will survey your population as a result.
Yeah, but that's how
And
they
so,
choose
and so most
many
people
things.
missed it because, you know, in a 60-page document where they tell you that, oh, all of the changes, you just look for bold type. They conveniently neglected to put that in bold type. And so the delegates, you know, had maybe an hour or so to look over the document or however long it was. And, you know, where was, you know, in the United States, because this still does apply to the United States, where was the Office of Management and Budget review of, hey, wait a minute, how much is this agreement going to cost us? So if you want to sick Doge on something, you know, sick Doge on the international health regulations and ask them where all of the billions of dollars are going to go through there. And, you know, one of the other things, we're not really prepared to talk about this today, you know, I haven't mentioned to you, but through the PrEP Act and through many other pieces of legislation, the United States currently has budgeted $3.5 billion a year to put these types of vaccines and drugs and products into our national stockpile. That budget is more than the entire WHO budget. So what we're looking at is really, I think, sort of a Cold War arms race in, you know, biological weapons research and development. The United States, the Defense Department, and all of its associated organizations through the World Bank and the Pandemic Fund and through the National Defense Authorization Act have allocated billions of dollars.
Here's the basic problem with numbness. When we numb the bad, we also numb the good. But there's this caveat of psychological defense mechanisms, which means we can numb the bad without numbing the good, interesting enough. But there is a shared problem with both of these things, though, is that when we numb something, it does not disappear. We just become oblivious to its action. So when someone is a narcissist, for example, narcissism is oftentimes rooted in insecurity. I basically think it's always rooted in insecurity, but there are arguments against that. So let's say sometimes that's a very fair, scientifically valid statement. The problem is that the narcissist doesn't recognize their insecurity. And so the narcissist gets into trouble because now that I'm numb to this insecurity, I'm not aware that it is a problem. I cannot fix it. So this becomes deterministic for my life. I will always remain insecure until I understand it's a problem. Okay? Here's the basic problem with numbness. When we numb the bad, we also numb the good. But there's this caveat of psychological defense mechanisms, which means we as men have been taught that in order to be a good man, you have to be independent, you have to be self-sufficient, and a huge marker of your worth as a man is being able to find a partner, support a partner, sustain a relationship. So when we lose that partner, we lose a sense of identity. Today, we're going to talk about how to survive breakup and divorce as a dude. My name is Dr. Alok Kanoja. I got interested in male mental health issues back in 2015 when I was still training at Harvard Medical School. And over the last 10 years, I've helped dozens of men go through breakups and divorce. And I'd love to boil down to you how you actually survive these processes and ideally thrive afterward. The first thing we got to ask is, why are we making a video about men instead of surviving breakup for men and women, or making a video for women? We have a ton of amazing women in our audience. Thank you for being here. And the reason we're making this video first is because there are actually fewer resources for men available when it comes to breakup and divorce. There's a lot less emotional support. And there's even evidence that there's bias from clinicians. Clinicians, mental health workers, therapists are actually less likely and less able to help men go through divorce and breakup than they are with women. So we're making this because we actually feel like there's fewer resources for men. And the second reason we're making this video, and this is going to be a hot take, but there's data to support this, is that breakups and divorce are potentially more harmful to men than women. Now, I know that we have this belief in society that everything is equally harmful for everyone, right? and that women can really struggle with divorce or breakup. And I'm not saying that they can't struggle, but there's actually good data that shows that breakup and divorce is more damaging to men. As a simple example, in the aftermath of a divorce, a man has a 27% increase in all-cause mortality. So that means that the likelihood of dying for a man after a divorce goes up by about 27%. It goes up by about 15% for women. Now, this is a significant amount for both of these groups of people, and yet the number is still way higher for men. There's another scary statistic, which is that 70% of divorces are initiated by women. Now, y'all may think, does that mean that 30% are initiated by men? The number is actually even lower than that. 15% of divorces are mutual, and 15% of divorces are initiated by men. So if we're not careful here, we can slip down the toxic masculinity rabbit hole of blaming women for divorcing men. Oh my God, it's so unfair. So we need to take a step back and understand, if a man is less likely to initiate divorce, why is that? What is a man gaining from the relationship that they are likely to lose if the relationship goes away, versus what is a woman likely to lose? And this is where things get really interesting, because a man loses way more in a relationship than a woman does. Now, I know that this sounds very toxic masculinity, but bear with me. I'm just sort of saying this from a scientific perspective, okay? So I think this has changed a lot in the last 50 years, because in the past, what would happen is that, you know, a man would provide for their family and all that kind of stuff. So they would provide economic stability, and a woman would be the caretaker of the home, provide emotional support. So this was sort of a situation where a woman could not pay her own bills, and a man could not provide their own.
Okay.
Okay. Let me do your hair. You want me to
Not enough fucking time in the fucking day.
An emotional support, so there was somewhat an exchange. What we know now is that women are, this is a good thing, by the way. I'm a father of daughters. I'm really glad that we live in a world where women can be financially independent. I think this is a good thing. This is not evil, okay? But as women have become more financially independent, they don't rely on a man for money anymore, which is like a big part of feminism, and I'm all for it and things like that. The problem is that men have not developed in terms of emotional support and emotional stability. So what's responsible for the discrepancy? So why don't men initiate divorce as much as women? And it's because, frankly, they stand to lose a lot more. Now, this may sound crazy, because you will say, well, in a divorce, doesn't everyone lose the same amount of stuff? And statistically, scientifically, the answer is no. We're not just talking about money here. So if you look at research on women's experience of divorce, what they primarily lose is a relationship. Right? So they say this is a disruption of attachment. Now you may say, well, hold on a second. Isn't divorce a disruption of attachment on both sides? If you look at the research on it, actually it's a lot more for men. Men don't just lose a relationship, they lose their whole life. So as men, we are conditioned to be providers, we're conditioned to be independent, we're conditioned to be caretakers. And if you ask a man, if you do research and qualitative research on men, and you ask them, what do you enjoy about your marriage? They don't see it as a marriage. They see it as a part of their life as a whole. So if you ask a man, you know, what do you lose in a divorce? You lose the home that you've worked really hard to provide. You lose the workshop that you built. You lose your whole life. And now this may sound kind of crazy, because you will say, well, women lose that too. But if you really look at the research on it, men are more emotionally damaged by divorce than women are. Motivation comes and goes, but sometimes it isn't about pushing harder. It's about finding the right support. That's why we developed HG coaching. Coaches will help you turn thoughts into action.
Fuck off. Whatever. Can't fucking watch anything anymore. Okay.
What we?
Yeah, it's fucking warm in there. Okay. Sorry, I'll be right back. This is a shit show compared to what Dean was. Go, please. Go, go, go. Conditioner, we're done. Oh. Whoa, geez, you okay there? What's the matter? Whiskey? You okay? What's going on? Whiskey? Ah. Okay? Okay? Come on. Come drink some water. Come. Drink some water. Come on. Why?
Women's, even where the women pursues a career, and that men tend to be more separate from or less connected to their families and women.
Okay.
And family is more integral to the self-identity of men than women. But these are actually false assumptions. As many scholars point out, the marital relationship is more likely to be the sole source of emotional sustenance for men than women. Men are much more prone than women to direct their emotional needs for connection and intimacy almost exclusively to their partners. In divorce, men are thus more likely than women to lose their only confidant and source of intimacy. So as Arundel describes, men are the unrecognized emotional victims of divorce. And if we look at the actual research, we'll see that not only do men compared to women tend to believe that a romantic relationship is more central to their well-being, they're also more likely to believe in love at first sight, idealize their partners, and believe that no barrier is too strong to get in the way of love. For example, 61% of men rank getting into a relationship as a really important thing for them, and 38% of women rank it as being really important to them. So we find that men are more likely to want a relationship. Being single is much more painful for them than it is for women. Now the question becomes why? And that's because we as men are not taught how to form emotionally supportive relationships and intimate connections with people outside of our romantic partner. Whereas women are taught from a young age. So there's even evidence that suggests that the oxytocin level in women that's different in girls causes them to form or enhances their ability to form intimate relationships even in childhood or in adolescence. Whereas the way that men's biology and brains are wired, as well as conditioning, makes our relationships a lot more transactional. So it appears that when a man gets divorced, they lose more than a woman. So a woman may lose a relationship, but a man loses more than just a romantic relationship. They lose the life that they've invested in. So men are much more likely to invest in a marriage as part of their life as a whole. So we're taught, for example, that we should be providers. So what is my contribution to the marriage? I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to buy a house. We're going to have a family together, right? So we have a home. And when you sort of do qualitative research on men and you ask them, you know, what are you happy about with your marriage? It's not the marriage itself. It's the life that you've built. So it's the home that I bought, it's the workshop that I have, it's going home and seeing my kids. And when you sort of ask men and women after a breakup or a divorce, you know, what are you losing? What women will say is that I've lost a relationship. And what men will say is I've lost my whole life. Frequently, dads move out of the house. There's a custody differential between men and women as well. So mothers are usually the primary caretakers. Men sort of get sidelined in terms of like being caretakers oftentimes, even if you do 50% custody, that's not as common. So men have sort of been taught and conditioned to invest so much in their relationships. And also we have been sort of conditioned to have our marital partner is our only source of emotional intimacy and confidant. You know, there are many women who will say, my husband is my best friend and they're my husband. But for a lot of men, it's not just that your wife or your girlfriend is your best friend, it's your best friend. It's actually your only intimate connection. So once we start to see that men are actually more emotionally isolated, they lose their whole lives when they go through a breakup, as opposed to just lose a relationship, we can see why men are more likely to try to stick to a relationship, value a relationship. They're more likely to initiate a relationship. They're more likely to feel like their sense of identity depends on a relationship. So for women, you just lose your relationship.
Here, Jameson
Oh my god, with the fucking ads.
Say that tap water.
Oh, man.
We
That's awesome.
your stuff. So we make up.
Like their sense of
Yeah,
identity
as it turns out, I'm not
depends on
that bad of a
relationship.
cook.
So for a woman, you just lose your relationship.
I'll cook healthy
And for
food
a
though.
man, you
When I
lose
have a
your life,
restaurant,
you
it's
lose
not
your
gonna be
sense of
healthy food.
identity,
If you have fucking,
lose your best
I'll do
friend,
food
you lose your
allergies. Like if
only
there's
emotional
lactose, that's
connection.
not your fucking
And I'm
fault.
not saying that can't
Fucking
be
a
true of
peanut
women as
allergy,
well,
but
but frankly, this is
God, you want
statistics we're
fucking
talking
like
about here, right? So these are
organic
scientific
and low
research
fat and
studies
low carb.
that
Like
show
I'm
that
not
there's a
playing that shit. I make
The
yummy
other
food.
really interesting
Food is
thing is
supposed to
that
taste good.
when we look at like
Yes,
the
yes, it is.
impact of
Like,
divorce,
but like
it
even though
also
it tastes
appears
good,
that
it's fucking
divorce
You
is
look so tired,
literally
bro.
more harmful to men.
Is
So
that you
even
look
if
so
we, I don't know
tired?
if this kind of makes sense, but what I just said, you can argue, right? You can say that okay, qualitatively, like men and women, like maybe they are the same, maybe they're
because
not
his
the
boss
same,
is
they lose as
giving
much.
shit that
Oh,
they're going
Dr.
too
K, you're
slow.
saying that women
And
aren't
one of the
as
other
hurt by
fucking
divorce. You don't
coworkers
understand
is
my
an
life and my experience.
alcoholic
Whereas
who
I
just
may
is
not
being a
understand your life
brat
and your
and
experience, but
going
if we look
slow
at
on
population
purpose.
level
Like,
data, we also
so
find that
he's
men
kind
have
of-
higher all-cause
so they're making up
mortality
for him being an
after
asshole
divorce.
and
So the
brat.
likelihood that a man will die after a divorce, or the all-cause mortality increases by about 27%. It increases by about 15% for women as well. It's significant for both cases.
You want to be a
But
lad?
the damage is way
You get a
worse.
bunch?
We
But
also
then
tend
the
to see that the
can do
risk of suicide post-divorce or breakup is higher in men than women.
Coke
And we
in the
also
fridge?
see that
Coconut fruit?
while